Okay, this upcoming 2018 NRL season, I believe, is the toughest to predict, and I believe it's going to be the closest on record. Every team, with the roster moves they've made, are stronger. Melbourne are just promoting youth and the fringe players into the squad because Krogg's gone, Munster goes into 6 or 7, and another player comes up from the reserve grade onto the bench. Simple. So Melbourne has still got that conveyor belt of talent. Every other side has got better. I was, though, surprised looking at some of the roster moves. Why some clubs have lost some of their key leaders. West Tigers they're in rebuild mode again. I'm very concerned about the West Tigers going forward. I think they'll be competitive this season. It's how the team gels, and they've got some exciting players. But going forward, I'm very, very concerned about their longevity in Sydney. They could be the team that has moved out of Sydney to Perth, for example. They look like the most likely. If they have another shocking season, that's the team that gets moved and rebranded elsewhere. I honestly believe that. Apart from me doing all my prediction videos, and I've done a lot of them, there's one other little underlying story that's been bubbling and brewing for a while, and that's the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles having a little bit of a salary cap issue. Now, Todd Greenberg, who is not my most popular sports CEO, but he's more popular than Gary Bettman in the NHL, I'll give him that. When he took over as NRL CEO, there were allegations of certain matches in the last 4 or 5 years having suspicious betting patterns being fixed. Now, he's gone to the various police forces and he said, look, we've got some suspicious betting patterns, can you investigate? So the New South Wales Crime Commission and various police forces investigate. They haven't found enough evidence to prosecute anyone, but they did turn up that the fact that Manly have been cooking the books in salary cap wise. They've been rorting the cap for 5 years. Now, in the last 5 years, coaches changed and players have come and gone and retired. But with what happened at Parramatta, what's happened at Canterbury, what happened at Melbourne, and what happened at New Zealand Warriors, could they be starting the season on minus points, or could they have points deducted at some point during the season? Looking at past precedent. Because if it's a major breach, I can see that happening. And that could have a bearing on the ladder this coming season. Because as I said, all being fair, it's going to be the closest NRL ever. I've done a video on it, if that is the case, and they actually have been done, and they are found to have breached the salary cap, that could have consequences for the league. And a team gets in the finals that probably on form shouldn't. Such as Gold Coast Titans a couple of years ago and Parramatta were done. So, that's very interesting. Watch this space. That's what I'm going to say, is watch this space. Because again, that is a bad habit for the league, that they put rules in place and the rules are regularly flouted by teams. Regularly. That's worrying. Also, the fact that the salary cap, there's been some questions about the level it should be at, and it is at. There are questions about West Tigers and some questions about Cronulla, but Cronulla are slowly sorting themselves out. They have the fan base, they have the stadium that can be filled to capacity of 20,000 odd. The cocaine scandal with Ben Barber and then the CEO getting done has damaged the title sponsor a little bit, leaving the shirt. That's why they've got a bit of a gap for a title sponsor. But all said and done, their issues are slowly repairing themselves. West Tigers, however, they have not reached finals football for a long time. There's been chaos off the pitch for a long time, and they've basically lost their leadership core. They didn't keep any of their star players apart from Brooks, basically, and Nagama. Nagama and Brooks stayed. Woods, Tedesco and Moses all leave within the last 12 months. So, for me, I did my video on should the NRL go to Perth, either relocate or expand. West Tigers are the most likely option to be moved because they are really up against it. Gold Coast Titans are fixed. They've got a new owner now. There were rumours about them getting moved. They've now fixed it. Cronulla are on the way to fixing theirs. Parramatta are rebuilding off the pitch. West Tigers are in an absolute state. And there are concerns. If they have some really more bad seasons and no success, bear in mind they've only won grand final once. If they continue to have lack of success, that is an issue. That is an issue. So that's something else to watch out for, new stories around them. But league-wise, I'm not going to predict who finishes where. I think Gold Coast Titans will be at the bottom end. I think West Tigers, depending on how the team gels, when they're on form, they're up the top. When they're not on form, they're down the bottom. And more often than not, they're down there, and they've been on the back end of some really heavy defeats the last couple of years. And I'm watching them. I mean, there was a Cabra Raiders one where they lost by like 60 points, and it was just stop, they're already dead. It was like, you can stop scoring tries now. I mean, I'm a fan, but this is actually, I'm not enjoying this. I like it when it's competitive, and at least, even if the losing side gets a couple of consolation tries, at least they try and be competitive. They at times the last couple of years, they haven't been competitive at all. They have been absolutely woeful, and that comes down to various factors. They've lost Robbie Farrer as well the last couple of years. He's gone. So key members of their side have gone on elsewhere. And we have to see how Woods and Tedesco do, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do really, really well at their new clubs. And we shall see. Overall, West Tigers are a question mark on how they're going to cope. Gold Coast Titans, I think they're probably better off without Jared Hayne, but they've got a very, very weak squad compared to others in depth. Cronulla have got a few gaps in their roster to fill with players moving on. They can fill them. They brought in Matt Moylan, so that's a good starting point. It's just, this is probably going to be Paul Gallen's last season. Same with Cameron Smith and Billy Slater. Cronk says he's got a couple of years in him. So a lot of players are going to be retiring at the end of this year, at various points in their career. They go, right, that's it, I'm done now. And these are well decorated players, so it's sad to see them have to retire, but some of them have had lengthy careers of nearly 16 years. They've played almost constantly since 2002, 2003, 2004. They've basically been constants for years. They've won State of Origins, they've competed international, they've won World Cups, they've won Grand Finals, they've won minor premiership. They've got glittering careers. So there's going to be some retirements this year. There's going to be some new faces come through, and we've just got to say, wow, that's a diamond in the rough. That's interesting. There's going to be a lot of rookies as well coming through the next year or so. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I just think there's some new stories around the NRL this season. It's going to be the toughest season to predict. I don't want to be the poor git to predict it. And I'll have some more videos for you soon.